We're here today to discuss one of the organizations featured in our new book, How to Heal Our Divides. Joining us is David M. Bailey, Executive Director of Arrabon, which is spelled Arrabon. The word Arrabon means a foretaste of what is to come. Arrabon equips Christian leaders in their communities with the resources to effectively engage in the work of reconciliation. Their live workshop initiates conversations and communal problem solving to help transform communities into reconciling communities. Their digital study series and live workshop are designed to create transformative environments for mutual learning. So David, it's really an honor and a pleasure to have you here with us today.
So good to be here, man. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, I'm really excited about you and Arrabon being included in this book. And, as we were discussing a minute ago, it's just becoming a lot of momentum around this project. So I'm very glad to see that. And I hope a lot more people learn about your work.
Oh, man, thanks. Likewise. I hope this, we need all types of healing from divides. I'm really glad that you're doing this.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Maybe before we talk about Arrabon, we can talk a little bit about you. I'd really love for folks to know, how you got there.
Yeah, man. So I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I actually lived in Richmond my whole life. There are two important numbers in my life. That's 8 and 2008. When I was 8 years old, I was really slow in learning how to read. And my dad got me this like second grade level reading Bible and said, man, I figured, he told me to read 2 chapters of the Old Testament, 2 chapters of the New Testament, Proverbs and Psalms every day. And and he was like, I figured God would teach him how to like read better. And eventually I did, and so that was, I grew up in one of those old school households who just did what your parents told you to do. So that kind of gave me a bit of like a love for scripture, And then another thing happened when I was about 8. We started to, our church merged with another church that was like literally in the housing projects. And even though I grew up in like the suburbs, like a working class suburb area, we went to church, and I remember like the first few weeks being like, man, I don't want to be with those stinky kids, and but those quote unquote stinky kids became my friends, and it wasn't until college I realized that I grew up across different kind of cultural and racial and ethnic lines. And I was like in a sociology class, people talked about those people. And sometimes those people were poor people. Sometimes those people were rich people. And I realized that people didn't know those people by name, and they had all these strong opinions about them. And I was like, man, if you kind of knew one another, you actually could really benefit from each other's like needs and each other's gifts. And so, I ended up realizing like that's what the church is supposed to do. It's supposed to be. The other thing that happened when I was 8, I started playing music. I started tinkering around on the piano. Grew up in a kind of Pentecostal church. I was the church piano player by the time I was 11, and by the time I was 14, I'm playing gigs, and that opened my world to me of like gated communities and country clubs and things of that nature. So like on a Friday night when I was in college, I would play maybe a country club. I might do like an outreach ministry in the hood with my church on Saturday, my band on Saturday afternoon, maybe do a jazz club on Saturday night, would maybe do a Presbyterian church for a 11 o'clock service, do my Pentecostal church at 1, and then I played for this like international church that had about 30 different languages spoken, led by a pastor from India, and from an evening service. So it basically, I became a cultural anthropologist.
I guess you had an exposure to such a diversity of environments.
Yeah, totally. And my wife was like, 2 years and just kind of observing me. She was like, hey, David, you realize you know how to bring people together across differences, and you should start writing and teaching about it. And so that's what I did. I started doing that, and that's how Arrabon got started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
that was
amazing.
In 2008. Yeah.
Huh. So kind of how's Arrabon organized, in terms of like, do you have like a board? Do you have donors? Or is it just
Yeah. So we're a nonprofit.
Or?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit. We got a board. I got a staff, a team of folks. And so, what we do is we equip communities with the tools to be reconciling communities. But how we do this is we really tend into the soul of reconciliation. That's like our methodology. And so we're working with communities the Christian communities could be churches, nonprofits, foundations, Christian schools, whether it was grade schools or universities. Um, and we help them to build these 5 pillars of reconciling community. Pillar number 1 is understanding reconciliation and spiritual formation. That, we, like if you and I have a conflict, God doesn't care if David's right or if Brian's right. God cares about how we honor one another. How do we position ourselves for God to be glorified and for us to be transformed? And so that's the first aspect of being a reconciling community, to acknowledge the brokenness and then receive that invitation to be transformed from the inside out. And then the second pillar is to increase cultural intelligence. That we can have some of the same words but have different meanings, have different things that's appropriate in different cultures. And so like knowing that helps us to actually be less offensive and communicate more effectively. The third piece is to understand diverse shared narratives, that we can have the same set of facts happen but have very different experiences based off of those facts. The fourth piece is um, we can engage in cross-cultural collaboration. And then the fifth is engaging in reconciling, participating in cross-cultural collaboration. The fifth piece is engaging in reconciling culture making. So what we do as an organization is really help communities figure out, hey, what does it look like to be a reconciling community within your particular community, within your particular organization? And so as we do that, we give folks these different skills, and we kind of develop tools to help them to do that, and we do communities of learning to help folks do that.
Wow, that's very cool. I like the way that you've got that structured and to touch on those different areas and, educate people, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I think we'd all benefit from that.
Yeah, and it's an education with a bias towards action. It's not like hey, transformation doesn't happen by information transfer. It actually happens by both relationships, imagination, and doing things. And so we orient ourselves around that type of activity.
Well, that's great because, that's exactly when I was structuring how to heal our divides. That's what I was looking for, as people are actually doing things, not just talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the pandemic has, dramatically affected your, trainings.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what the programs look like physically beforehand, what they look like now?
Yeah, we did a lot of things physically. That was really key. We did a lot of things physically where we would go and meet people in person and help communities. I mean, particularly like what happens with a lot of leaders, the leadership might be here, the staff might be here, whoever they get oversight from or their directional leadership team might be in one place, and the people that follow them might be in a different place. So what we do is we really help directional leaders and staff kind of come together and have some shared knowledge, language, and vision, and then develop strategy based off of that. And then with their next tier of buy-in, what we do is we work with those group of folks to like provide some resources to kind of help that next tier of buy-in to again help lead the followers, and so, we were doing that physically, but then we have now um, just changed the medium to be able to do online. I mean, we still can do things in person. We do some things in person still, but we do through lines through kind of 6-week type of cohort sessions and assessments that we have now. And so really the pandemic actually helped us to be a lot more effective and efficient.
That's really good to hear. And, I'm
Yeah.
glad that you've pivoted, your processes to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
When you remove the geographic boundaries and you have effective online communication available like this, it's just amazing what can be accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, it actually helps us like to do a lot more things like in between, like we really pay attention to like adult learning techniques and, design thinking deals. Because actually people just need a guide. They need somebody who's like experienced, like, they have the answers within their context. That's our approach. Like, how to run your organization better than I do. I don't know how you do your thing, but what I can do is provide you, hey, as you do that, here are a few things to think about. Here's some language to talk about. Here's some areas where you're going to need to kind of like work on over a period of time. And that's the thing that we've been really working on over the last few years we've honed down in the last in 2020. We really work with some of the best folks to learn how to transfer that into like an online experience.
So if you think about the breakdown of the different types of organizations that you work with, I'm sure it's churches, nonprofits, for-profits. How does that break out?
Yeah, so I mean, so it is like we work. One thing we distinctly work with Christian organizations, as we do as a ministry. Um, we work with foundations, denominations. We work with churches. We work with nonprofits. We work with Christian schools, and we work with both grade level and universities. And so, this is I mean, organizations are organizations, and so they're called different things, and people are like people, and so the details might change, but some of the principles are the same. And so again, because of the fact that we're providing principles and then kind of helping folks to go through a process to figure out how to exegete their context, whether it's their local context or their organizational context, and then begin to give them some exercises to spark the imagination for what it's like to be a reconciling community in their particular context. So we take them through processes, assessments, and like design thinking processes and exercises to actually have like an action plan of what would they do after working with us.
Cool, cool. And so geographically, are most organizations Virginia or East Coast or all
Oh
over?
no, literally, I mean, all over Santa Barbara, San Antonio, Texas, the New England area. Yeah, and so I mean, as a matter of fact, our staff is over the country. I mean, my
Hmm.
CEO right now is in Alabama, and we got folks in DC and
Oh, good for
all
you.
over the place. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I mean, we don't all need to be in the same office, you know what I mean? Or anything like
No.
that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and so the thing is that's kind of cool about it is that I'm also like, I am particularly locally based, and our director of learning communities, she's been the longest person on staff with us. I mean, we're literally neighbors. I mean, so is she on 30? I think she's on 37th Street. I live on 37th Street. She lives on 37th Street. There's a boys and girls club between us. Otherwise, we could walk straight directly, uh, with each other to each other. So, um, we're part of a church community that puts this into practice. That my world is kind of in a 1.5 mile radius. Everything is here. Post pandemic, we work out of the church office, or either our home office or out our church office. And so I hop on a plane, and we'll go different places when needed. But like we're a community of practice, and we're trying to touch people all around the country.
So in the past, how have people typically found out about your organization?
A lot of it's like through word of mouth. There's a few things. I mean, I think one thing that's unique about Arrabon is that a lot of folks in this race conversation, they tend to have a pretty prophetic voice, and they're like trying to wake people up. And I think that's a really important role in place. For us, we have a pastoral voice with kind of like a apostolic, spiritual, entrepreneurial type of approach. And so what we do is we're trying to like kind of prophets say, hey, this is the direction we need to go. But they're always great at like building the thing. They can oftentimes kind of like deconstruct and see what's wrong. And so kind of what we do is we kind of like help say, hey, this is how you build the thing that you need to build. Like what they're saying is right, but here's how you actually do this. And let's shepherd you through that process. So that's how we like our approach that we have and what it is that we do.
Hmm, cool. And so if people want to get involved, um, does it require an organization to engage with you guys, or do you have anything for individuals too?
Yeah, so we do have things for individuals. And actually, I didn't finish answering your question. A lot of times people give word of mouth because of the fact that they appreciate the pastoral voice and the fact that we build things. So so that's kind of like a lot of us word of mouth. I'm not really great at social media, and so uh, like our social media game, we just haven't prioritized it. Hopefully that'll be a thing, but a lot of us word of mouth. Um, As far as, could you ask the question one more time?
Just wondering if you only engage with organizations or if there's ways that individuals can, take
Yeah,
advantage of your resources or get involved, or how does that work?
yeah. Yeah, that's good. So a lot of ways individuals they get involved as they learn. So we have study series that we have developed that help to that people can like share with people and they can actually host events and so we
Mhm.
have like we have a documentary called 11 a.m. Hope for America's Most Segregated Hour. There's ways that people can do public viewings of it and start discussion groups based off of this. We have a couple of different study series like Race, Class, and the Kingdom of God. It's a great introduction for people to gauge into. People, Place, and Just Society is like a Bible study that helps folks like be able to like literally get through the Old Testament and New Testament. You spend 6 weeks in the Old Testament, 2 weeks in the New Testament, trying to understand the scriptures and God's heart for people, place, just society. We have the Matthew 25 project that's coming out. It's a documentary that's also a Bible study exploring Matthew 25 called Spiritual Matthew 25. And we'll probably around the fall, the later fall of 2021, we'll have uh, Romans 12 and the story of America. And that kind of helps us understand a little bit of our story and how do we engage in a kingdom perspective in our story in America. So these are different, like four different type of study series that people can find themselves in if they like want to kind of dip their toe into the topic. If they want to say like, hey, I'm not really real versed about what the scriptures has to say about this. I love to like dig deep into it. I'm not that versed in the history. Let me try that out. Or I have a bias towards action and I want some imagination. What can I do in my community as relates to like the things that Jesus talked about in Matthew 25? That's something that, people they can both participate in and they can host and they can share with others.
Hmm. Cool. Well, it's a great set of resources. So if people do want to, learn more or engage with Airbond, I mean, the best thing is just go to the website.
Yeah, Arrabon, ARRABON.com. We got a new website up and everything. It's a lot more clear and then also connect on our newsletter. So you can like we kind of send out resources. We every week we try to send something out that's valuable to people, and not just like, hey, here's cool stuff that we're doing. Nobody wants to read that. So so we actually literally are providing tools that kind of help you to think about, hey, what can be a reconciling community? How can we do that?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, David, congratulations, first of all, on all the things that you've accomplished and all the things that Arrabon does to help people and help communities become reconciliating communities.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So again, Arrabon.com, ARRABON.com. David is the executive director, and you can read more about him and his organization in the book, How to Heal Our Divides. So David, thank you so much.
Thank you. Blessings to you.